Hi guys. Well, we're gonna be having a result today. PSW 315. Social work with individual and family. I'm having it by 1 p.m. today. And I'm just like going through my handouts. It's already done. This is where I am right now. Said how can a social worker play his or her role in ensuring a better chance of stabilizing the family. Um, Looking at it, says as a social worker gets to see all family members together, comprehensive view of the problem emerges, unlike when he sees only one family member and gets only one person's view of the problem. This view usually represents the particular way the individual is experiencing the problem from the unique position and not as it affects every family member. So for a social worker to play his or her role in the perfect way, he has to use the following practice, which is through interaction. By this means, we mean that the way the family relates and interacts among themselves, and also the way the family members relate to others outside the family. So the social worker is expected to study their interaction, interpersonal relationship. This look at whether there are camps in the family, maybe parents relating together more than they relate with the children and vice versa. It also looks at whether there is a mutual respect in the family, and also if there are exclusive role for specific people. So what this means is that as a social worker, you are expected to build an interpersonal relationship with your client as well as his family member, because you get to understand them more when they are free with you. If they are not free with you, they won't open up to you. Like, they might open up to you, but they might be embarrassed to tell you some things, and you will be surprised that those things that they are embarrassed to tell you are the things that really you need to be able to help them. You get. So we are moving on to communication pattern. What is their communication pattern like? Do they hear each other, or are there factors they inhibit them from hearing each other in the family? What does it mean? As a social worker, you are expected to be able to understand the communication system, the communication patterns of your client and his family. So as a family social worker, for example, you get to know, okay, are the parents having issues? Does the father and the mother have issues with one another or with the children? All you have to simply do is that you just okay, sit them down, tell them communication is the key. They should be able to understand each other, communicate. If there's an issue in the family, they should be able to communicate. So what I normally do and how I usually read, especially when I have lots of details like this. Okay, as you can see, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and I need to get the 6 in my head for my exam. So I start them with acronyms. What do I mean? I take the beginning of each letter, and then I try to see what words can I create with these letters that could help me remember. Like if you take a look, for example, the interactions, we have the interactions, we have interpersonal relationship, we have communication pattern. What we have here is D, we have TICROVS. So how can I form a word from this? I can't. Can I? Okay, okay, it will work. So all I just have to do is store it with TICROVS. So by storing it with TICROVS, I'm able to store the roles of a social worker in my head, and it makes it like, let me show you what I mean. If you take a look at what I'm showing you now, there are the interaction, interpersonal relationship, communication patterns, roles, various competency required of a family social worker, and their sufficient knowledge of human development. Okay, so I want to store this in my head so that when I see the question in my exam, I will be able to remember. And I take the beginning, like for this, the beginning of this is a T, the beginning of this is an I, the beginning of this is a C, sorry, beginning of this is an arrow, beginning of this is a V, and beginning of this is an S. So I've looked at it. I can't really form like a reasonable word from it that will make sense to me. So what do? I start with the way it is, like TICRVS. I may sometimes like sing it a little bit more. TICRVS, TICRVS. So that if I remember what T is, which is the interaction, definitely I'll be able to understand what I mean by ICRVS. Do you understand? So let's move on to the next. It's rough because I've used it to read since. Okay. We have problems encountered by the family institution in Nigeria. So what do they mean here? The topic is the course code, and the course subject is social work with individual and family. So now they are telling us about the problem we are expected to encounter, or problems that are encountered by the family, especially here in Nigeria. And of course, if this one is not there, that means something is wrong, which is the financial problem. The financial problem is like the first problem that families encounter. In fact, when you, as a social worker, when you get to interact with people, you find that the majority of family that have issues all boils down to the financial problem, where you see a situation that the man, maybe his source of income is very low, he can't provide for his family that much, so there will be conflict between him and his wife, and the children will not be happy because they need some things, certain things that maybe their mates have and they don't have it. So financial problem is a major problem, and I want to start this on my head. Okay, I'm like, what if I'm given a question in my exam and say list or discuss the problem encountered by the family institution in Nigeria? I want to store it. How will I store it? There are just financial problem here, changes in family circumstances, differences in opinion, personality, beliefs, and values, the issues relating to sexuality. I bring out the first letters. For this first one we have F. For the second one we have C. For the third one we have D, and for the last one we have I. How should I store it? I think, okay, it won't work that way. Why don't store it the way it is, which is FCDI? Then you say it a few times: FCDI, FCDI. F, financial problem. C, changes in family circumstances. D, differences in opinion. I, issues relating to sexuality. So you read it like that. Like, another way I still try to like help myself to be able to understand is that, okay, I'm going to be writing, for example, let's say my exam timetable is out, and I look at it. I have 3 exams that week. Let's say I have the exam on Friday and on Saturday. How do I read within the week? Like, before then you have um Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to prepare for your Friday and your Saturday paper, for example. So what do I do? Normally you're expected to start with the first, right? But I don't start with my first paper. I actually start with my second or my last paper when I want to start reading from a Sunday. Why do I do that? For me, I feel if I start my first paper before on Friday, I'll forget it. And I won't have enough time to go back and go and read it all over. So what I will simply do is that I'll start with my third paper. For example, I'm having BSW 311, 315, and 316 at the same time for that week. So I'll start with my 316 to read on Sunday. I'll just go through it. I normally wake up at night, maybe like around 1. I wait from 1 to like 3 o'clock. Then I sleep till 5 o'clock. I'm prepared to do my work for that particular day. So I read my 316 on a Sunday. I read the 316 on a Monday as well. Then on a Tuesday, I read my second paper, which is my 315. I read my 315 on a Tuesday. I read it on a Wednesday as well. Then my very first paper that I'm going to be having on Friday, which is 311, I will start to read that paper on a Wednesday evening. That's in the night. I read it on a Wednesday evening. I read it on Thursday as well. That I read on Friday morning. That I do revision on Friday morning against the exam, because I believe that I have been reading ever since I started the course. So what I'm going to basically do is that I try to recall using the course outline. Okay, course outline is introduction to research in social work. I try to ask myself, okay, I've been reading this course for like since we started. What can I remember? Do I know what research is? Okay, what is research in social work? I try to recall. When I can't recall, I go and check it out. Then I try to store it in my head using acronyms. If I cannot, if it doesn't require acronyms, maybe it's just a simple definition. I explain it to myself. Then I tell myself a number of times, and it just stays there. Even when it's getting towards the time of writing the exam, which is the paper I read on Sunday, which is my very last paper for the week. And I tried to do revision again the night before that day, which is on Friday night after my Friday paper. I might have forgotten it like a little bit. Maybe I can't recall what's the beginning. But once I just hold my book like this and like, okay, as I'm able to just pick up that first word or the second words, voila, every other word come into play. Like I just begin to recall it or stuff. So that's how I do it, guys. And you can try it. It do help. Not that you just, because sometimes when you're preparing for an exam, you don't know where to start from, and you normally be busy with work, so you lack that motivation to read, and you'll be like, oh, I have 3 papers this week. How am I going to do it? So that's how I do it, guys. So bye. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it.